ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारम् ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ ब्रह्मविदाप्नोति परम् तदेशाभ्युक्ता सत्यं ज्ञानमनन्तं ब्रह्म यो वेदनिहितं गुहायां परमे व्योमन् सोऽश्नुते सर्वान् सः ब्रह्मनिश्चितेति. So, welcome to the Taittiriya Anandavalli Bhashya class. And if you do not have the text, can somebody please share the Bhashya on here on the chat pod, so that everybody, there are a couple of new people, and so this way everybody can look at the text. Okay. So if you can do that, that will be very nice. So while that is being done, I will just, since there has been a gap, and it is perhaps good to recap a little bit where we are, just to orient ourselves, because we have come back from a nap. And so after sleeping and waking up, you look around to make sure, one looks around to make sure one is in the same place as when one went to sleep. So in the same vein, just kind of a little bit of a orientation, a reorientation is in order. So in the Bhashya, where were we? We were on page, let me tell you exactly, we were on the top of page 269. We had just finished this very involved discussion. We just finished this top portion, which I will go over very quickly because it was a very involved discussion. And what was the discussion? The discussion had two kinds of, the discussion had two kinds of issues. It dealt with two very important issues. One is the way in which this the word Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, how does the word Jnanam operate? That is what it is. We had a long discussion about Sat and Satyam, and the word Jnanam, this is what we are in the middle of. How does it, what is this Jnana? And if you say all knowledge, it makes no sense. All knowledge means what? How is this, what is this all knowledge? And then also, what does not make sense is this, it's too abstract to think about it as consciousness, untethered, limitless, and free, all these things. It's just, where is this consciousness? And so, therefore, and then also, if everything is jnanam, 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 that was one more question that comes to the mind. If everything is jnanam, jnanam, and if it's, here a jnanam, there a jnanam, everywhere jnanam, jnanam, then what exactly is this? And how, how is the object of consciousness, which is also seen as jnana, because everything is all knowledge. So the flower is all knowledge, pot is all knowledge, thought is all knowledge, it's all jnanam. And then I, the knower of the pot, the thought, and the flower, the flower and the pot and the flower pot thought, the knower is also jnanam. And yes, exactly. And this is where there can be a confusion. And so therefore we had an involved discussion which focused on two different things. The first thing that our discussion focused on in the last class number 27, was bringing in this concept of upadhi, a very invaluable concept. I tell you, without the concept of upadhi, there can be no Vedanta. No Vedanta teaching is possible at all. No Vedanta teaching is possible. And so, therefore, this Upadhi concept is extremely, extremely important. So, we had a very nice introduction to that. We had a wonderful introduction to this concept of Upadhi. And what is this Upadhi? Very quickly, Upa Samipe Stitva, that which is next to or near something else. And then by virtue of its proximity, its attributes, it lends its attribute to something else. So this is upadhi. And so, like, what is our classic example? The crystal and japa kusumam, the hibiscus flower. These days, the hibiscus flowers come in all kinds of colors. In the ancient times, japa kusumam means it would be only red color. So you take a crystal and put a flower, a red hibiscus flower, japakusumam, behind the crystal. So uh, the red flower is the upadhi for the crystal, which makes the crystal appear red. So like this, so therefore, the subject object difference between I as the knower and then something else as the known is is to be understood by the upadhi bheda, the differences in the upadhi. Because what is the upadhi? That is discerning this flower, for example, which is overshadowing the crystal and making it appear red. What is the upadhi? So for the crystal, the red flower is the upadhi. But what is the upadhi that is making this obvious to me? So this is the upadhi is called buddhi upadhi. The buddhi itself, the faculty of intellect, the faculty to think and to come to conclusions, that itself becomes an upadhi. To what? To the only thing that is there free of all upadhis, Brahma. To this Brahman. So even we cannot say Brahman has many upadhis, because that is, that gives a sinking feeling to the argument. As you go down, then you find that you have dug yourself a pit and you have to lie there. So you have to bring in a famous word that we use all the time. What is that? As though. So all these are as though upadhis for this Brahman, which is free of all attributes, free of all upadhis. So Brahman that lends itself, to this upadhi called the buddhi, shines as the buddhi, takes on the attributes of the buddhi, just like the crystal takes on, as it were, the attributes of the flower without becoming the flower. So Brahman without becoming the buddhi illumines the buddhi, and Brahman without becoming the object of the buddhi, sight, sound, etc., whatever the buddhi cognizes, without becoming the nama rupa, illumines and inhabits the nama rupa, thereby thereby underscoring anantyam. Anantyam means what? Anantyam is limitlessness, because the subject object difference is as though an illusion. It's a delusion. And this is basically what he points out. Because the subject-object difference, is what is that? You think there is a difference because one struts around, the ahankara struts around, now knower, now seer, now eater, now drinker, now mover, now shaker, now agent. So the ahankara struts around in its newfound identity as an agent of knowledge. But really speaking, the agency is an as though superimposition upon that buddhi, upon that that buddhi which is illumined by Atma, by Brahman. Atma and Brahman are synonyms. You will hear me, keep on changing that, using them interchangeably. So this is what it is. And so the subject object difference is the biggest spoof. And what is and who is the one who is projecting this spoof? That is also another as though upadhi for this Brahman, which is Maya Upadhi. Because equipped by this particular upadhi of all knowledge, ability to create, ability to sustain the creation, ability to manifest as the creation, ability to take back the creation when its job is done, all this is lent to Brahman because of this upadhi called Maya. And what is Brahman in the example of crystal and flower? Brahman is always the crystal. Okay, don't say Brahman is the japa kusumam. No, Brahman is the crystal, and Maya is the red color. Let us say, corresponding to whatever that is. So Maya is the upadhi which gives Brahman a certain status. So this is on the collective side. And on the individual side also something similar is happening. There is this buddhi illumined by Brahman that allows me to go collect knowledge, collect information about various namarupas. And then everything is illumined by the buddhi, we say, but then upon closer inspection, the buddhi itself is illumined by what? Chit, consciousness. This is Jnapti Swarupa. This is what is why Jnanam is very important. You see how now it is without a second. Without a second at all. There is no second there. And so this is the first thing we saw was how the subject-object difference is a contrived difference from the standpoint of the subject who has turned into identifying as the knower, who has turned into somebody who identifies as the knower. But from the standpoint of Brahman, from the standpoint of the total, subject is Brahman, object is Brahman, and there's a distance, if any, space, time, etc., between the subject and the object is also Brahman. And what is Brahman? Neither subject nor object nor the difference or the distance between the two. This is what we saw. This was one thing that we spent a lot of time over. And the second one was we talked about how the upadhis is the concept of upadhi is their cause for which there is, is this cause because of which there are these various there is various the consciousness is as though split into different things. From the standpoint of one's own buddhi, the consciousness is as though split into three. Even one Brahman, even one consciousness is difficult to know. Now, how are you going to know three consciousnesses? As though. That's why it's fun. So we saw this also, Pramatra Upahita Chaitanya. So this Chaitanya, this consciousness, this Brahman, that is Upahita. Upahita means endowed with the identity, as it were, of being the knower. So the Chaitanya which struts around as the knower consciousness. Then what? Prameya Upahita Chaitanya. Known consciousness. So that consciousness which is in the form of objects, which is known to the knower. So knower consciousness, known consciousness, and then pramana upahita chaitanya, that consciousness which which equips the means of knowledge to shine, swallowing up the difference between the knower and the object of knowledge. So we saw that from these three standpoints, it's the same Chaitanya, same Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, which which shines as the knower within me, within oneself, within the jiva, shines as the knower, and then shines as the variable, objects of knowledge, which are variable. The knower is also variable, but then and the means of knowledge is also variable. Now I see something, now I hear something else, now I touch something, now I'm picking up the smell of something delicious. So like this, the means of knowledge are variable. Objects, of course, are variable. Knower is also variable, because in sleep, where is the knower? No knower. Knower is gone in sleep. And so, therefore, what is that one thing without a second that is invariable, and because of whose presence the knower shines, the known shines, and the means of knowledge also shines, connecting the knower and the knower. So this is what we have done. This was, a very long discussion, just basically summed up very, very quickly, so that with this understanding, we can move on in the Bhashya. So I will also, just to catch us up even further and to make us familiar, I will also read the Bhashya. Somebody has shared it, yes? I hope so. So yeah, thank you. So people have shared it. So you can just, take the first one. That is the one we are following, which Vasanti has shared, and I think one more is also there. I don't know which one, but anyhow, so this is where we are. So I don't know which one it is. The two look to be different. But anyhow, the one I'm following is, we are at the bottom of page 268 here. So this is giving, this is a very brilliant response of Adi Shankara to this contrived Purva Pakshi. Purva Pakshi means the one who is bringing up an objection. So then so the objection, as we know, was that Brahman got somehow Brahman got accused of being a dependent reality, and being anitya. Anitya means impermanent. And then don't ask me why, because then we'll have to go into that objection, and then we will not go any further. So you can you can brush up on the other talks if that is there, or look into the Bhashya. Okay. So then there was a very nice, there was a very nice response by Adi Shankara. We are not going to look into the whole thing, but the last portion of it is very, very nice. This would be very pertinent. So he says, te atma vijnanasya vishayabhutaha utpadyamanaha eva atma vijnanena vyaptaha utpadyante. So this is where he talks about how vishayakarena parinaminyaha ye shabdadi akara avabhasaha. So all the objects of the sense organs that light up in the presence of these sense organs, which function as the means of knowledge, Vishaya Bhutaha, which are in the form of objects, they are objects of Atma Vijnana, meaning Vijnana here means consciousness. They are all objects of consciousness, and they shine. Utpadyante means not that they are produced. They shine, they become evident. Atma Vijnanena Vyaptaha. Vyaptaha means pervaded by consciousness. The objects come to light. To whom? The one who is consciousness in the form of the knower. Very nice, very beautiful. तस्मात् विज्ञान अवभासाः च ते विज्ञानशब्दवाच्याश्च धात्वर्थभूताः आत्मनः एव धर्माः विक्रियरूपाः इति अविवेकिभिः परिकल्प्यन्ते. So parikalpyante, they are mistaken to be. They are imagined to be. Imagined means they are not really, but they are imagined to be. Imagined to be what? Vikriya rupaha iti. Imagine to be so they means these objects are seen, which are vikriya rupaha, which are changelings, which keep changing all the time, are mistaken for the unchanging I, for the unchanging Brahman, which is in the form of the Atma. So therefore, they are mistaken. This is a mistake. Why? Because the person who is making the mistake is endowed with Atma Ajnanam. That is why. That is why the mistake is made. And so, this is why the mistake has been made. Atma, Atmanah eva dharmaha iti avivekibhihi parikalpyante. So they mistake this because of self-ignorance. They mistake these kinds of dharmas, attributes, as belonging to the Atma. Like even, any object that one notices or one connects to, any object, like even within oneself, like the states of the mind. Mind is restless, hardly anybody says. What do we say? I am restless. Generally, that is what is it. I am hungry. I am restless. I am this. I am poor. I am bad. I am good. Now I'm okay. Now I'm not okay. All these things. So, therefore, this is the problem. Because this is because of aviveka. Aviveka means non-discrimination. So and because of this non-discrimination, they put the dharma onto the atma, and they mistake the atma for the dharma, just like they call the crystal red without really discerning the presence of the flower behind the red flower, which is making the crystal to be appearing as the red color. So they don't see that. This is what this is what he points out. That is why Brahman is seen as anitya. And then he says, yattu brahmanah vijnanam tat savitra prakashavat agni ushnavaccha brahma swarupa avyatiriktam swarupam eva. But then Brahmanaha Vijnanam. Here again, see, every step we have a landmine. We have to cross this landmine. Brahmanaha Vijnanam. The consciousness of Brahman. No, no, no. This is a problem already, because again, the sixth case connection, consciousness of. I mean, of means what? That itself, of Brahman, when you say, that itself is a little off. Okay? Saying that itself is a little off, because there is no karaka vyapara. There is no what is that called? Karaka means what? The various factors of action. There is no genitive case when you say the consciousness of Brahman, knowledge of Brahman. It's like saying the head of Rahu or the tail of Ketu. What is Rahu? All head. Okay. So when you say head of Rahu, then it is a Shashti, this Shashti usage, or the usage of the sixth case, all right. But what kind of a usage it is? Aupachariki Shashti, it is called. A Shashti, a sixth case, a genitive case usage. That is just for the sake of, for the sake of formality. It really has no meaning. So similarly, when we say the knowledge of Brahman or the consciousness of Brahman or the awareness of Brahman, we fall into the same category, and we have to remind ourselves that this is also upachara. Upachara eva. This is also just a formality. This is not really, nothing is happening here. It is not the it is not the knowledge of Brahman, it is the knowledge which is Brahman. So yattu, whereas the knowledge which is Brahman, tat, what is that? Savitra prakashavat, like the light of the sun. Again, when we say the light of the sun, here also it's the same sixth case issue which has to be exemplified properly. It's not the light of the sun, it is the light that is the sun. Same thing here. And then, another example is given, because sometimes the sun gets eclipsed and then, or the sun is hidden by the clouds, so to speak. And so, therefore, another example Bhashyakara gives, Agni Ushnavat, like the heat of the fire. Again, the off here is always a bit off. Okay. The off means what? The heat that is the fire. The heat that is the fire, and then what else? The light that is the sun. This is how we have to understand Brahma Swarupa Avyatiriktam Swarupam Eva. So this Satyam Jnanam Anantam, these are not attributes of Brahman, it is the Swarupa of Brahman. Tanna Karanantara Savyapeksham. Savyapeksham means dependency. There is so Vyapeksha is like dependency. Savyapeksham is that which is there along with some dependency. So Tanna Karanantara Savyapeksham. There is no other thing that Brahman is dependent upon. It is not dependent upon consciousness. It is not dependent upon the Jagat. It is not. It is independent of everything else, and it is not. These Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam are not attributes or dharmas of Brahman. They are the Swarupa, the very nature of Brahman, just like the light of the sun and the heat of the fire. So Nitya Swarupatvat, because Nityatma Swarupatvat, because Brahman is the same all the time. And hello, Adi Shankara cannot resist one small little, little thing. He says Nitya Atma Swarupatvat, because it is in the form of you. It is exactly you. And this Brahman, don't think it is somewhere there and you can catch a hold of it. It is you that we are talking about. And otherwise, this discussion is not very useful if we are talking about something out of reach, out of sight, non-objectifiable, out of mind. Non-objectifiable people understand very quickly. But then they say, oh, I can't objectify Brahman, how sad. But along with non-objectifiable, you have to make clear, and it has to be this avatarana, in the buddhi, it has to descend very, very quickly that it need not be objectified. There is nothing to feel bad that it is non-objectifiable, because it need not be objectified. Why? Because it is self-evident. As what? As I. Sakshi Rupena Bhasate, as the witness of everything. And so therefore, this is a very wonderful, you see, this is what is Adi Shankara's expertise. One would think, okay, he has no other work. He keeps writing bhashyas and he keeps raising objections and answering them. No. In this answer, in this objection and in this answer, we have delineated something which is very, very wonderful. We have covered the Swarupa Lakshana of Brahman. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. That which is the nature of Brahman has been covered, and that Brahman is at once I. That is the nature of myself. So, from the standpoint of the buddhi and the upadhi and the maya upadhi, which is the big upadhi, limitless upadhi for Brahman, a limited upadhi for this Brahman in the form of Jiva. So the limited Upadhi makes this Brahman, as it were, into a Jiva. A Jiva endowed with self-ignorance, that is the Upadhi. Maya Upadhi for the Jiva is self-ignorance. Maya Upadhi for Brahman is makes Brahman into Ishvara. So we have really covered a lot of ground here. Then we come to this next paragraph, which is again beautiful and very well written, again tight and terse and full of all kinds of very wonderful Upanishadic allusions, which will be, so he will allude to various quotations, which we will be looking at in detail. And so what does this section cover? It is this next paragraph is going to unfold Brahman as Sarvajnam, Sarvakaranam Brahma. Meaning what? Sarvajnam, all knowing. So then Sarvakaranam, the cause of everything. So it is very clear that it is not talking about the Jiva now, right? Yeah, because Jiva is not the is certainly not all knowing. Jiva is small knowing, and then what? Then what is this thing? Then what is this here? All knowing. Whereas Jiva is the cause of, at best, confusion and cacophony. And then, and then what is this Brahman here described as Sarvanyam, all knowledge, all pervasive, and the cause of everything. Meaning, we are treading into the unfoldment of Brahman as Bhagavan, Ishvara. And this is very responsibly done. It is wonderful of him to do this right at the start, because even though in the text we will have the, we are still in the Swarupa Lakshana section of the Taittiriya. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Then what, but the word Brahman has come in. And then later on, we'll have the, what is that, the Tatastha Lakshana, or the Brahman as Bhagavan, the definition of Brahman, the second definition of Brahman as Bhagavan will come on later. Later means when? Tasmad va etasmad atmana akashas sambhutah akashat vagyuhu ityadi. So little later on it will come. From this Brahman, which is Atma, and from this Atma, all the elements came. And from the elements, the elementals came. And then what? And then from that, from the earth, food came. And the one that was born to eat the food, then the Jiva came. And then the one that was born to, understand its place as a very special entity endowed with total consciousness and total free will, Purusha, that one came. Savayesha Purusho Narasamaya. So this is, this is all born of Annam. So this is, this is what is called Tatastha Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshana is the second way to, the second definition of Brahman. Because the first definition does not, bridge is not enough, is not sufficient. Why is it not sufficient? Because we are here not to analyze Brahman and to find out, what makes it tick. We are here to get rid of sorrow and anxiety. Shoka nivrittihi, bhaya nivrittihi, which is the business of the Upanishad. So from the standpoint of this project that the Upanishad has taken on to remove the shoka and the moha, delusion and the bhaya of the individuals who are taking refuge into the Upanishad with the help of a teacher. For them, just understanding Brahman as Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Okay, Brahman is existent and it is all knowing, and then it is all knowledge. It is ontologically speaking, all knowledge, meaning I am, I know I am, and I know that I don't know. Yes, so that means I know that I know that I don't know. So this is all knowledge. And then therefore it is limitless. It still does not remove the pain, the sorrow, and the anxiety. That removal takes place when this jiva, who is yearning to be whole, who is yearning to be the best, east or west, who is yearning to express himself, herself, itself, the jiva is wanting to express itself as all. It's not enough. It cannot brook any smallness. It's not happy with being small. It wants to be all. It hates that it is because of its existence is because of this and because of that. No, it wants to be the cause. And then it wants to be God because it can't stand that it is so odd. So therefore, this is why the second definition is given. The second definition is just given for Ajnana Nivritti itself. Because as long as there is something bigger than you, separate than oneself, then that itself becomes the cause of fear. You see, the Upanishads have a two-pronged approach. Shoka Nivritti, the sorrow removal Upanishads. Oh, there is such a thing? Yes, thank God. So, sorrow removal Upanishads, meaning they go the Shoka route. They go through this, they focus mostly on sorrow. Like the Ishavasya Upanishad. Tatra ko mohakka shokah ekatvam anupashyatah. So where is the delusion? Where is the pain? Where is the sorrow for the one who sees everything as as themselves? So this is Shoka Nivritti. And again, the Chandogya Upanishad, the 7th chapter, Bhuma Vidya, Narada Sanat Kumara dialogue, also Shoka, Shoka Nivritti. Narada goes to Sanat Kumara and then says, please teach me, oh Bhagavan, please teach me about Brahman. And then Sanat Kumara starts to teach. And but then he says, okay, why do you want to know this? He says, I know everything, but I still am subject to sorrow. Soham Bhagavah. Soham is not, Soham, I am Bhagavan. No. Soham means first he gives a list of all the things he knows. And he says, I am the knower of this, knower of that. Soham. Soham, when he describes himself, it's actually Hoham. Okay? Because he just knows a lot without knowing anything. And so that one, without knowing Brahman. So he says, Soham Bhagavah Shochami. I am subject to grief, even though I include every single branch of knowledge. I know Ayurveda, I know Nakshatra Vidya, I know Shastra Vidya, I know astrology, I know astronomy, I know this, I know that, I know this. Yes, but you don't know the knower, says Sanat Kumara. That's the main thing that is the missing. That's the only thing that needs to be known. And then, Narada says, Shokam taratyatmavit iti bhavatah sadrishebhyah. I have heard from people like you that the knower of the Atma crosses sorrow. This is the approach taken by some of the Upanishads. But then in certain portions of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and, ours truly, the Taittiriya Upanishad which we have at hand, that takes on the Bhaya Nivritti. That takes on the removal of Bhaya or fear. So we have Dvaitadhi Bhayam Bhavati. Dvaitadhi Bhayam Bhavati. Brihadaranyaka Vakya. A sentence from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad which says that there is fear due to duality. Duality is the cause of fear. Okay? And then this Upanishad also, later on it is going to say, udaram antaram kurute atha tasya bhayam bhavati. Ud aram antaram kurute. If one makes a difference between oneself and another, even as small, as thin a difference as the tip of a razor's edge of a blade, athatas, even then there is fear. Fear ensues. So therefore, the second definition of Brahman as Bhagavan is needed. Because from the standpoint of the body, mind, sense complex, the jiva is helpless, vulnerable, subject to universal laws. And who is Bhagavan? Non-helpless, not vulnerable, and not subject to her own laws. So here the jiva is helpless, and starting with one's own karma, one doesn't have a say. One doesn't have a say. I did some good karma. Okay, I need this back right now. I have I have given a donation. Where is my good karma? It's not coming back. I'm only having difficult karma. You are helpless. You don't know when that good karma will come. You don't know whether it will come now or three, four lifetimes later. Oh, how mean. But yeah, that's how it is. You don't know when it will come. Just because you gave a donation just now doesn't mean that instantly somebody will, make you feel good. No, this is the problem. This is our problem. We want everything yesterday. And we say, oh, there should be a law of karma. And then because of this law of karma, now I have given this, I should get this back. Where is my good karma? Doesn't work like that. Because but it is my karma. Yes, it is your karma. Don't worry. It will come. But in Bhagavan's time. Because, see, in the, around the time when Christmas comes, the children are told stories about Santa Claus. And Santa Claus is wrapping the gifts somewhere in the North Pole, along with some small beings called elves. And then he's gift wrapping all these gifts, and then we'll put them in a sack, and then we'll go in this chariot pulled by reindeer. And then somehow quite a nice, fat man, but somehow will stuff himself along with the sack of presents through the chimney, and then put the presents under the tree when the children are sleeping. That is exactly like this. So Bhagavan is like Santa Claus in the sense that all the karma phala is being gift wrapped. That is why Bhagavan has the name Karma Phala Data, the disperser of the results of action. So it doesn't come when you want. You can't say it is Christmas now, I want it. No, it will not come then. So the punya will come when you least expect it. And so therefore, even over your own karma, you don't have a say over the result of your own action, as the famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita points out. Karmani eva adhikarahate ma phaleshu kadachana. So you don't have a say over your own karma. What to talk of anything else? And from the standpoint of strength, you are weak. You have you are finite. You have limitations. And from the standpoint of resources, definitely finite. And because there is everybody says, I don't have money, I don't have money, I don't have enough, I don't have enough. From the standpoint of knowledge, one is wanting. From the standpoint of vairagya, one is wanting. From the standpoint of samarthyam means this ability to project the universe, take back the universe, and to sustain the universe. One is, of course, wanting. One is lucky if one can write one paper or for an assignment. One is lucky if one can get that done. And so, what to talk of projecting the whole universe? Here, one has difficulty creating just one small little thing here. And so, from this standpoint, that is why there is so much fear and sorrow, because there is alienation between I and Ishvara. That sense of alienation is the cause of sorrow, and that's why the Upanishads is the cause of sorrow and fear. So the Upanishad here takes this from the standpoint of fear removal. This is primarily a fear removal Upanishad. Not that it will not address sorrow, but it will primarily, its pathway is to see how the fear can be removed. And then both the Brihadaranyaka Vakya that I quoted and the Taittiriya Vakya, both of them say the same thing, that the duality is the cause of fear. So, in order to remove fear once and for all, the duality has to be removed. Now, this is a very interesting predicament. If duality is real, okay, then you can talk about its removal. Where is duality? Let's hunt it down and then let's remove it. Oh, okay, duality is not real. Okay, then what are we doing here? Are we like Lady Macbeth, who is trying to remove some spot from her hand after engineering her brother-in-law's killing because she wanted her husband to ascend the throne and become the king? Then she just walked the palace corridors at night, couldn't sleep because of the guilt, and she was constantly washing the hands and trying to. She saw blood when there wasn't, nobody else could see the blood. So, are we trying to remove a non existent duality? If we say we are Vedantins, we should say there is no duality. And so, if there is no duality, then what are we doing here? So, if there is no duality, it cannot be removed. And if duality is real, if it is as real as Brahman, it cannot be removed. So, therefore, there is so much confusion here about the nature of this projected universe, including this duality. And this is something we also talked about last time quite a bit, Satyam and Mithya. Duality is mithya. It has a basis. It cannot be categorically established. Neither can it be categorically dismissed. So it is there. In who? In the person who is experiencing it. In the buddhi that is experiencing it, the duality is there. And in the buddhi that is experiencing the fear, the duality is there because it is the cause of this fear. But then, from the standpoint of Bhagavan, there is no duality. What duality? Where duality? Show me the duality. There is no duality. And so, therefore, this dismissal of this duality as mithya becomes a very, very important project of the Upanishads. And what do they try to do? They try to understand this, that this duality between Jiva and Ishvara is what? Is as though it is not and cannot be real, because there's only one thing that is real, which is Brahman. Nothing else is real. But at the same time, it cannot be dismissed as unreal. Why can't it be dismissed as unreal? Because it gives problems. It is there. It is experienced. And it is misidentified as the I. So therefore, it cannot be dismissed. It cannot be affirmed. This is what we call mithya, a dependent reality. So mithya, as just to recap, has two definitions. What is the first one? Adhishthana ananyat, non-separate from Sat, dependent upon Sat, totally dependent upon Sat. And then, what is the other one? What is the other definition? So, first one is Adhishthana Ananyat and Sad Asadbhyam Anirvachya. That which cannot be categorically said to be existent, that which cannot be dismissed as non-existent. This is where everything comes. Avidya, Nama, Rupa, and all these the whole diversity, duality, all this comes under this rubric of mithya. Mithya is not an object. It is a reality statement about the objects. And so therefore, this is where This is exactly why the Upanishad now turns, the Adi Shankara, now having talked about Brahman from the standpoint of Atma, the I, turns to the definition of Brahman as Ishvara. He's going to take up this definition, the second definition called Tatastha Lakshana. Tate tishtati iti tatastha. Tata means the bank, river bank. And this is tishtati means that which is sighted or that which stays on the river bank, on the other side of the river bank. This is from the famous story, the example of the person who was asking to be ferried across the river to reach the other side to go see some temples. After he went to see the temples, he wanted to also visit his friend. So he asked the boatman, where is this? Do you know this man who is my friend? Yes, 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 I know the whole family very well. Where is his house? Okay, okay, how to tell you his house? Do you see that the boatman who is an expert of all the whole skyline on the other side of the bank because he's traveling that every day. He looks around and then he says, do you see that building? Which building? The one behind the temple. "Oh, what building? Oh, do you see the building upon which the crow is sitting? Do you see the house upon which the crow is sitting? Yes, 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 says the tourist. Yes, I see that, I see that, I see that. That is the house of your friend. And so the boatman is dispatched back, and our tourist goes and sees the temples and then, goes to his friend's house for lunch. And then, does he still look for the crow? Does he look for the crow? Does he go to any house which has the crow on top of it? No. No, not at all. Why? Because the crow has done its job. The crow has identified that house and has flown away. It has also gone for lunch. It's not just sitting there waiting for the person to come there. And so that is why the second definition of Brahman is called Tatastha Lakshana. It is like that crow. It indicates Brahman and then it goes away because it is a incidental definition of Brahman as opposed to the Satyam Jnanam Anantam, that which is conveyed by the words Satyam Jnanam Anantam, which is an intrinsic definition of Brahman. Incidental means it comes and goes. So what is it that comes and goes? The Jagat, of course. So Brahman in relation to the Jagat is of course an incidental definition because the Jagat appears and disappears through various cycles of creation, various yugas, etc., etc. Then there is pralaya, then there is a dissolution, and then what? The jivas are there. They go into a hibernating state, and then there is a emergence when the desires. When the desires outnumber the number of jivas and create a pressure in the heads of the jivas, they all say in unison, let me out, oh Bhagavan, let me out, let me out, let me out. And so Bhagavan has to not only let them out, before he unleashes them, he has to make a kshetra, a karma bhumi, where they can get all their frustration out. They can pursue all their mad desires. So there has to be some mountains. Why do they need mountains? Because some jivas, were goats in their last life and they want to climb those mountains. They want to climb. And then there has to be certain kinds of, fruits. Why? Because that's the only reason the jiva wants to be incarnated, to eat jackfruit. What is jackfruit? Come to India. I'll tell you what is. I'll feed you jackfruit. Okay. Yeah. And so very exotic fruit and fragrant. Some people don't like it, but it is. I can say it is the well-behaved brother. A very distant cousin of the durian, and durian terrible. And but this one is, this one is a mild, fragrant version of the durian. Why is it called durian? Because It's actually duriya, means distance. Lot of distance should be there. It can challenge it can challenge the patience of a saint. There is a story. The monk himself said this. A Vietnamese monk who recently passed away, very famous. Thich Nhat Hanh was his name. And he was meditating, he was leading a meditation. Some people came in late and they brought this prasad of a whole dish of duriya and kept it in front of the Swami and then sat down to meditate. And there was vikshepa, means distraction in the whole meditation hall because of the strong thing. Then he had to break his meditation and then he had to tell the people, please take this out far away somewhere, away from the meditation hall. So, like this, you see, this is what, so jackfruit. Why jackfruit? Because somebody wanted to be incarnated only to have jackfruit. And so, where did they end up? In Kerala, where it is grown. Because that's where you have to be born in order to eat jackfruit. And then you can't be born in Himachal Pradesh and, maybe you will make your way down, but it's such a waste of time. You have to eat jackfruit and be smelling it right from the start. And then, so then what? Then you end up working as tinning the jackfruit and exporting it to various countries like this. So then, the karma bhumi must be there, the kshetra must be there, and the kshetrajna, the potential kshetrajna, the one who is romping around, gambolling on this karmic field, also is there. And then no fun being incarnated alone. Along with you, all kinds of people should be there. No fun if all of them are always friendly and nice to you. A little polarity rub should be there. Somebody should be cause you jealousy. Somebody else should be jealous of you. Somebody else should be the bane of your existence. They are just always so ordinary that you wonder why they were born. And unbeknownst to you, they are also wondering the same thing. And some people are your nemesis. All and they are put there just to exhaust your karma. No other reason. Okay, so all these people are there. And then we again have the crow sitting on the building, and this is Brahman along with the Jagat. But again, here also it is problem to say along with the Jagat, because Jagat is Brahman. Brahman is not the Jagat. Jagat is an as though projection of Brahman. All this we'll see. But then it's good to be acquainted with it now, because we'll promptly forget. And then when we encounter it again, we'll say, aha, okay, it's all coming back. So then this is the second definition. The second definition is where the masala is. Like, how did this Jagat become such a complex thing? Why does this person hate me? Why do they hate the land that I walk on? Why do they give me trouble? Why is my karma so bad? What is wrong with this Bhagavan? Is there a Bhagavan? Where is this Bhagavan? And when will he or she give me darshan? These are all the questions that need to be answered, because they are all in the buddhi of the jiva. Sooner or later, these questions are going to come. If there is a Jagat, who is the maker of this Jagat? Jagat cannot did not drop by itself, because it is an intelligent creation. It is intelligent and it is well thought out, including who will marry who and who will divorce who. All this is well thought out. And so this is just so much, there is so much order to this Jagat. There is the anatomical order, the psychological order, the physiological order, the geographical order. Somewhere a butterfly spreads its wings, and somewhere else there is a tsunami, and the two are connected. Amazing. It's all just an interconnected web of knowledge. This Bhagavan must be known. This Bhagavan must be inquired into, and this Bhagavan must be understood as oneself. Without that, there is no bhaya nivritti, because one will always be afraid of Bhagavan. and stuck in the first Anuvaka of Rudram, Sri Rudram. Oh, direct your arrow somewhere else. Oh, not me. No, I am different, and I've not done anything wrong. Look at those people. Those people have violated so much dharma, and you are letting them go loose. You're letting them go scot free. One becomes a querulent jiva. And as one ages, one is in the shape of a question mark. Why me? This is what it is. All bent over. Vriddho yati grihitva dandam tadapi na munchati asha pindam. Bhajagovindam. Very nice it is. Vriddho yati. The elderly person is walking with the help of a stick in the shape of a question mark, I tell you. And then tadapi, so, and then before that a few other conditions are given. Angam galitam, the bones have dissolved. Osteoporosis, okay, the bones have melted, dissolved. And then palitam mundam, the head doesn't have a single hair to speak of. And then dashana vihinam jatam tundam, and the jaw is without teeth, not a single tooth is there. And then the person makes their way slowly with the help of a stick, with halting steps. Tadapina munchati, and then still, where is the person going? The person is going for some celebration. Why? Because there is a desire to go for this celebration. So tadapina munchati means even then one is not freed from asha pindam. Pinda means a big bag of desire. The elderly person is bent in the shape of a question mark because they are carrying on their back an invisible bag of desires, and that's why they are bent out of shape, because the burden of the desires has made them into the shape of a question mark. Why question mark? Because when will these desires be fulfilled? That is the question which is the person embodied. And so therefore what? This Ishvara must be demystified. This Ishvara must be understood as the truth of the self. This Ishvara must be sought after, inquired into. And when that inquiry happens, it is called Shubhecha, a most auspicious desire. And then in the auspiciousness of the desire, what happens is that there is a very nice solution right here. In the Tatastha Lakshana of Brahman, in the second definition of Brahman, which demystifies what this Ishvara is. And when we understand this Ishvara, it is just so glorious. It is very, very glorious. And then that is the first step, is to understand this Ishvara. What is this Ishvara? And then the next step is to see this Ishvara as nothing but an extension of oneself, as nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anantam with a little twist. That's all it is. And so let us, with these words, we can enter into this Bhashyas, because this section is going to introduce Ishvara. Sarvabhavanancha
सर्वभावानाञ्च
tena
तेन
avibhakta
अविभक्त
deshakalatvat
देशकालत्वात्
kala akashadi
काल आकाशादि
karanatvat
कारणत्वात्
niratishaya sukshmatvat cha
निरतिशयसूक्ष्मत्वात् च
natasya
न तस्य
nyadvigneyam
अन्यत् विज्ञेयम्
sukshmam
सूक्ष्मम्
vyavahitam
व्यवहितम्
prakrishtam
विप्रकृष्टम्
bhutam bhavat
भूतम् भवत्
avishyatva asti.
अविष्यत्वा अस्ति
तस्मात्तु
तस्मात्तु
सर्वज्ञं तद् ब्रह्म.
सर्वज्ञं तद् ब्रह्म.
Yeah. So here Adi Shankara, without much ado, dives into what is this tatastha lakshana, what does that constitute, and without any preamble or anything, and it is just very, very beautifully done. So he says, Sarva bhavanancha tena means Brahmana, avibhakta desha kalatvat. So sarva bhavana, bhava means that bhavati iti bhavaha. So the bhavanti iti bhavaha, meaning those things that are existent. So what are the things that are existent? Everything. And where do we begin from? We begin from the five elements. And then things that are born of the elements are called elementals. So then we move on to elementals, elements and elementals. So sarva bhavana means elements and elementals. Cha tena avibhakta desha kalatva. So desha kalatva means time and space. So all the elements and the elementals along with time and space are what? Avibhakta, non-separate from Brahman. Brahmana avibhaktatvat. That is the idea. So all the objects are non-separate from Brahman. And then what about time and space? That is also non-separate from Brahman. So why? Because Kala Akashadi Karanatvat. Because this Brahman is the cause of time and space. That is why. That is why it is avibhakta, it is non-separate from time and space. Why? Because it is verily the cause of time and space. Then, why is it the cause of time and space? Because itself cannot be objectified. Niratishaya sukshmatvat cha. We'll just see the translation, and the next time we will talk about them in detail. So niratishaya sukshmatvat, because all these are causes here, because they are ending in tvat, meaning the fifth case. Because it is non-separate from time and space. Because indeed, and why is it non-separate from time and space? Because it is the cause of time and space. Why is it the cause of time and space? Because it cannot be objectified by itself. It is extremely subtle, subtler than time. Time itself is so subtle, but it is subtler than time, it is subtler than space. And then what? Natasya anyat vijneyam. There is nothing other than it to be known. Whatever you know is just Brahman. There is nothing other than Brahman to know. What about avidya? Avidya is also Brahmashraya, that as it were. So there is nothing other than Brahman, there is nothing outside of Brahman to be known. Sukshmam. So Sukshmam is also there in some other pathas. So Sukshmam means subtle. Subtle means it's not subtle, it should be seen as subtlest. Sukshmatvat. Sukshmam means Sukshmatamam. Sukshmatamam. Vyavahitam. Vyavahitam means separate from everything. Viprakrishtam. Viprakrishtam means far removed. They are actually synonyms. But we'll see why both of them have been used. Viprakrishtam, far removed from everything. Including, and okay, maybe it is like this now, but what was it like in the past? Bhutam. Bhutam also was nothing, it was unchanging. Bhavat bhavishyat va asti. Nothing else is there. Nothing else is there to know. Nothing else is there to understand. Nothing else is there to experience in the past, in the present, in the future, other than this Brahman. Therefore, this Brahman has got now a new title, Sarvanyam. Sarvanyam Tad Brahma. So this Brahman is what? Sarvanyam. And in the Mundaka Upanishad, there is a very nice mantra. Yattu Sarvanyam, and then yasyaiva mahima bhuvi. There is a, there is a mantra like that. We'll be looking at that as also. And to illustrate to illustrate this, he gives two quotations. One from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Apanipado javano grahita pashyatya chakshussa shrinotya karnah savetti vedyam na cha tasyasti vetta tamahurargyam purusham mahantam. This is from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. It is a delightful collection of opposites. The one that doesn't have hands and legs moves very fast and grabs everything. And then the one that doesn't have eyes sees everything. This is, but nobody can see it because it is not objectifiable. And then another famous, quotation from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which I think Bhashyakara loves, and he has quoted it so many times, and one loses count because it just comes up a lot in all his quotations, and this is one of his favorite quotations, and with good reason, because it is just very very apt. In fact, there is I believe there is a PhD thesis in the waiting, in the wings, about the usage of quotations by Adi Shankara. How does he use the quotations? Really, that's something which is very worthwhile to study. How does he use it, and how much does he quote of a particular passage? Why that passage and why now? It's masterful, really. And so we'll be seeing all that next time. And we'll be seeing this particular sentence also, Sarva Bhavanancha, all this Desha Kala, etc., etc. A very beautiful definition of Bhagavan. And so we'll be seeing that, yeah, in detail. So I'll stop here, and if any questions are there, I can address. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaga Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Namaste, Swaminiji. Can I ask a
Namaste.
question? Yeah.
Yes.
About when you said fear, from how this Upanishad tells us about how to reduce our fears, right?
Not reduce,
Uh,
remove.
yeah,
Remove, remove.
remove. I know, but slowly reduce and then remove. But yeah, still it is. I'm just applying it to my dealings basically. Um, so whenever we like when our coming from India, when our looking at the kundalis, whatever it is said, and then looking at our families kundalis, you always have that fear, whatever is predicted, right? Always
Yes.
have fear going forward. So how to come out of that?
Yeah, that is a very good question, because they in India, one is in the grip of astrology, yeah, in the vice grip of astrology. Because you know the you see, Rahu and Ketu will always be in the wrong house. How will they be in the right house? They are supposed to be. They're supposed to give some life lessons. So they will always be in the wrong house. And the Shani also, even if Shani is in the right house, so many, there is Ashtama Shani, where when the Shani is eighth from the ascendant, that is one problem. And then there is Ardhashtama Shani, when the Shani is the fourth from the ascendant, that's another problem. And then there is in the and then every 30 years, then there is this 7.5 years of the Saturn cycle. That is another problem. And then that is only in the Lagna chart, and in the Navamsha chart also you can have the Shani coming. That is, there is also another Sade Sati that comes. So all this, and then some astrologers in India, they are very faithful to the texts, and then they just sort of say what they see, etc., etc. So they're very learned, but they will just sort of say what they see. But then here, well, two things we have to remember. First is that the horoscope is is a blueprint of of a potential life, of what it is there at the time of birth. It is there. But don't forget that this is not the horoscope of a goat. This is a horoscope of someone who has complete free will. That is why Purushartha. The horoscope only shows prarabdha, but you have purushartha. You see, that is the difference. Purushartha means free will. You can you can do certain things to override. There is, of course, pariharas, pujas are there. There is upayas. So many things are there. That is the second thing we can do. That we can neutralize the prarabdha to a certain extent. But then the prarabdha is whatever has you have come from the past, and some potential for the future is shown. But then where is your mind? Where is your hands and legs and everything? And really take everything with a healthy grain of salt. I mean, everything may not happen. And then the thing is, you can override a lot of things. You can override it by sheer willpower. Because if you look at sometimes if you look at the horoscope of some famous people, celebrities, and everything, you think, oh, they are so rich. But then the Shukra is afflicted, and it is debilitated, and it is afflicted, and here they are being a multimillionaire. How? There may be other redeeming things in the horoscope, but also they have by their willpower they have come up in certain ways. So always remember that you have Purushartha, and this one, moksha. That's why moksha you can never predict. You can say, okay, there is conducive. The horoscope is conducive to the pursuit of moksha. You can say that much. But you cannot say such and such a person will get moksha. Why? Because it is Purushartha. It is moksha is the final Purushartha. It is not prarabdha. So you cannot say that. And so therefore, you can say, okay, this person has conducive certain, you can see the 9,000 certain aspects there and all these things. You can see the placement of the guru, and you can say this person will have a desire to study the Upanishad. But whether that person actualizes the desire or whether that person just suppresses the desire, it depends upon the person to a large degree. And so that is one thing. Second thing, just take it with a sense of humor and tell Bhagavan, let everything come, but you be with me. Just like Arjuna said to Krishna. And then, if Bhagavan is with you, keep Bhagavan in front of you. And then so all the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune will first have to pass through Bhagavan. You will be protected. Okay? Yeah.
Abhinayji, thank you. Maybe, yeah, true.
That's it. All the best. Yes, Raghu, you have asked a lot of questions, but you have answered them also. I'm very grateful for that. Your understanding is correct. Oh.